Over the years in the Zolzab series, we have had many breaks, most of them by accident. We already talked about this in the last episode, which you can go check out after this if you haven't already. But this time around, we are now talking about the ones that actually were intentional and were for actual legitimate reason. These were breaks that did not happen by accident. They were ones that were actually intentional to happen because we had legitimate reasons behind them. Now, don't worry, there are not as many compared to the ones that happened by accident. There's actually only maybe like 2 or 3 of them. So this shouldn't even take that long. Let's go over the story of all the intentional breaks and why exactly they happened in the first place. Starting off with Zolzab 3 on April 4th, 2019. On that day, a book was made, specifically indicating that the lab was shut down. This was all because only a few weeks beforehand, Zolzab 2 made its grand return after 7 months of being corrupted. With this in mind, we decided to take a break from Zolzab 3 to get back into Zolzab 2, to get back to used to being updated that world. We decided to shift our main focus back to Zolzab 2 for a bit and take a little break from Zolzab 3, which can explain why all the lights went off on April 4th, 2019. This also can explain that farewell celebration, or basically the See You Soon party, that occurred a few weeks before this happened on March 18th, 2019. My bad. But it was pretty clear that with the See You Soon party, it meant that a break was coming. And that's exactly what happened. Originally, the break was supposed to happen on March 23rd, the same day as HQ Expedition in Zolzab 2. However, we kinda just forgot to come back and update this for one last time, so it ended up being on April 4th. Once we were used to having Zolzab 2 back, we reopened Zolzab 3 on May 8th, 2019, but this was filmed the day after, as you can see, making this break last from April 4th to May 8th of 2019. The second and last intentional break that I can remember is the one where we shut down both Zolzab 2 and 3 in early 2025. Zolzab 2 and 3 shut down separately and went on break. Zolzab 2 on January 30th, 2025, and Zolzab 3 on February 7th, 2025. Now, why exactly did they shut down separately? I'll talk about this before I get into the actual reason behind the break. First of all, around the time Zolzab 2 shut down, we were a week away from Zolzab 3's 8-year anniversary. We didn't want to shut down both labs, Zolzab 3, literally right before its 8-year anniversary. So we decided to keep it open for an extra week to celebrate its anniversary on February 6th. Then shut it down the day after on the 7th. So that can explain that. Now, why exactly did this intentional break happen for Zolzab 2 and 3 in early 2025? This was purposely because I was personally feeling almost pretty much completely burnt out from Zolzab 2 and 3. And personally, at the time, it just wasn't fun anymore. I think pretty much completely burnt myself out from these series. At the time, of course. And personally, I just needed some time off from them to kind of bring the excitement back. Which is exactly what I said in the finale of Operation Reality a few months later. Which is all true. This was mainly because I was feeling very, very burnt out from the Zolzab 2 and 3 series, respectively. And just as we had just celebrated the 10-year anniversary of Zolzab overall, I feel this was probably the best time to do that. It was just not feeling fun to me anymore. Not to mention, I'm absolutely destroying myself over these series. This honestly felt like the best decision. And oh boy, it worked out in my favor. Because when Zolzab 2 and 3 returned on May 15th, 2025, I personally was very excited to get back into it again. Meaning the break was for a reason, and it actually worked in my favor. I was personally very excited to get back into it again around the time that I opened them, on May 15th, 2025, proving that the break was actually needed. And to this very day, I feel good about myself now. Of course, in the May 14th update video, this was the day before they reopened, I intentionally said that you should probably not be surprised if something like this happens again. Which is true, because you never know, that probably will happen again one day if something like this happens again. Which I will not be surprised if that happens. But yeah, these were the 2 intentional breaks in the Zolzab series. These were the only 2 I can find that I remember. And with all that being said, that is the end of the Saturday Stories. I'll see you next time.